Alright, so as we're getting started here, I just saw a notification saying that the servers may be down. This was from 2 hours ago, so they might be back up. But I would not at all be surprised if the servers are still down. I guess we're just gonna have to find out. Because I guess Fortnite was down today. And it's Fortnite, who cares? I know a lot of people care. So there is a big run going on. Yeah, we'll check it out, I guess. And I think there's a Splatfest next week. Eel Tail Alley is a weird map for a big run. Okay, 135. I don't know if I'll be able to get 135. I would love to get at least a silver. I doubt that'll happen, but I'd love to get a silver. No, maybe the Splatfest isn't next week. Maybe it's in 2 weeks. That sounds actually right. Well, it hasn't booted us, so I'm going to assume the servers are back up. Big run. I'm going to guess the boss is the new guy. Right, the thing they're literally giving a trophy for. The Chomper. Oh, I don't even know if I've ever fought before. I don't know. I'm assuming it's going to be like every other boss. Where, you know, at higher level, it's just fucking impossible to kill. Because really, a lot of these bosses just feel impossible to kill at higher levels. So, this week... there were a few stories, right, looking through the news. I was like, okay, these are things we could talk about, I guess. But there were some things I just like Xbox did a partner showcase. And I'll be honest, I just don't care. Like, I looked through to see what they were talking about, and I was like, oh, you know, maybe we'll talk about one of these things. And no, literally nothing really appealed to me. Where I was like, oh yeah, we've got to talk about this, you know? So yeah, I was not really impressed. So I don't even have anything on the Xbox Showcase. Because nothing really appealed to me. If I'm just being honest. And yeah, that was a lot of other news stories this week. Like, you know, they're either the stuff we don't normally talk about, or the stuff I don't care to talk about. I really only have the one. Because, right, Warner Brothers Discovery put out a big thing, right, about a big announcement that another studio, they're shutting down. So we have that. And of course, right, I've got personal connection to that one, so of course we got a lot to talk about. And then that's it. I've got a few WIBE things. I saw 2 movies, you know. First time seeing a movie in a while. But I saw 2 of those things. So we got that. And then that's about it. So it should be, you know, a pretty short show. I don't know. I always say that and then we go on for like 2 hours, but... I think it's going to be a short show. Oh my god. So yeah, big run. It was funny because last week I was like, oh yeah, we got to get that new item that dropped in the salmon run. It was a golden salmon run weekend last week. I had no idea. They didn't really, like... I didn't see any advertising for Golden Salmon Run weekend. And yeah, sure enough. So that was a cool thing. Oh, crap. Honestly, Salmon Run is not the best for this. I literally just might do this run and call it. Yeah, let's just get one good run under our belt. And then just call it. Oh, shit. Oh yeah, we're just gonna fail the quota. Shit. Yeah, I'm not gonna worry about Salmon Run. You know, it's whatever. Hey, big run exists. I'm just too. Oh my god, I'm out of it. Yeah. Ugh. Yeah, look at that jacket. I think it's neat. And hopefully the trophies are actually fixed, because I know the last time they did one of these events, it was broken, so they had to revert back to the old system. I'm gonna guess they fixed that now, but who knows? Oh shit! Why am I using a fucking flames on? Alright, so our first story today, our only story, involves Rooster Teeth. So, we're going to start off with history, I'll talk about the story, and then we'll go back to history. So, I've been a fan of Rooster Teeth since... my guess is 2011, but I think it's probably later than that. I don't know. I'm going to find out right now. At least I was going to try to. For 11 years. Yeah, 11 years. My first video, following Rooster Teeth, was also Ryan's first video. Portal Mario. And then, you know, from there I watched Rage Quit. I watched a few other things. Really, I will be honest, I wasn't a huge fan. Like, it was just more of like a casual thing for many a year. It wasn't really until... I don't even know when. Like, I'll be honest, it was definitely later... Like, I got into Minecraft, like their big Minecraft series, around like... I want to say around episode 100. No, it was in the 70s. It was... Whichever episode was Wolf Spa. I think the first of their Minecraft videos I ever watched was Wolf Spa. But right, like over time I became a more serious fan, and over the years I loved a lot of things they did. But in recent years, Rooster Teeth, I mean, they've fallen off, yes, but it's more, like, I moved on. I just kind of, like, I don't know when it happened, sometime in 2021, 2022, I just kind of moved on. Like, I was like, oh, outside of, like, Fuckface and Face Jam, I didn't really have much interest in Rooster Teeth. Like, those were the only things they were doing that I still, liked. Because, there were certain series I loved, like Trouble in Terrorist Town and GTA and Minecraft. And eventually I got sick of Trouble in Terrorist Town. I was like, I got the feeling that they did everything they could with that series. And then, they kept going for another, few episodes. Yeah, I say few episodes, it's probably, another year or two. GTA, I still enjoyed GTA. Not till the end, but, you know, a ways in. And then same thing with Minecraft, right? I enjoyed Minecraft until the end, probably. But I feel like around the time they stopped doing Minecraft, because, you know, I understand. You get tired of it, you want to move on. I totally understand that. I wish there had been more transparency about it, because it was more of like, hey, they just stopped doing Minecraft and GTA, and that was it, right? One day they just stopped posting videos, and that was the end of it. I know some other things happened behind the scenes, right? Shakeups within the company and whatnot. But yeah, and like, I get it, right? It's good for series to end. I totally agree with that statement. But that leads us, and then there were all of the controversies. I could not recount each one. The only two that were really relevant to this story is, of course, the thing with Ryan, which I know that happened on October of 2020. And then, of course, there's the big one when, I don't remember what year it was. I can't remember, was it 2021, 2022? Whenever, right, they had some layoffs. In the layoffs, Matt Bragg was one of them. And that just kind of that kind of exploded the company. A lot of people came out who hadn't talked about the company in a while and were like, no, actually working for Rooster Teeth kind of sucks. You know, like, I'd always heard stuff from their animation department because you can't do animation in the modern world without abusing employees. I feel like everyone who does animation has some sort of, they were either abused or, right, they either were the abuser or they have been abused. I feel like everyone working in animation has that story. And Rooster Teeth was no exception, of course. Right? Like, recently I've been hearing the story about Has Been Hotel. Right? That working for Vivzy Pop is like that. So that was nothing. That was not news. But there were a lot of other things. A lot of people came out against the company. And yeah, it just kind of all exploded. And that was kind of it for me. Right? Once that happened, I was kind of like, you know, like, I'm done supporting them financially. Like, I had already stopped watching them for a while at that point. But I was like, yeah, I think I'm done supporting them financially. And, like, I think I watched a few things over the years. Like, I caught a few episodes of Fuckface. I caught, the end of we talked about the end of Achievement Hunter. When I think it ended in, September of last year? I know we talked about that. But for the most part, right, I've just kind of been like, oh yeah, Extra Life, right? Extra Life was another thing that I was like, oh yeah, you know, I'll check it out. And it just wasn't the same. Specifically, I'm talking about, like, 2023's Extra Life. But that leads us to today. Or earlier this week, when it was announced that Rooster Teeth, after almost 21 years, it'd be 21 years on April 1st, they are shutting down. And you know what? It sucks. I mainly think of, right, the 150 full-time employees who lost their job. That sucks. You know, all problems with the company aside, 150 people losing their jobs. That sucks, right? And some of these people have been in these roles for 10 plus years. So, much even longer than that. You know, there's a few who have been in there longer than that. But I like reading the stories on Twitter. Because, you know, a lot of these people, like, I don't really unfollow people on Twitter. So, hearing a lot of the employees talk about, like, oh yeah, I've been here for 10 years. This was my livelihood. That sucks, you know? And of course, right, this all came at because Rooster Teeth, through a long string of complicated mergers and buyouts, eventually came to be owned by Warner Brothers, because they got bought up by some studio that got bought up by a different studio that eventually got bought out by Warner Brothers. And, like, this isn't the first of these big-time internet content creators to be shut down, right? Famously, Warner Brothers shut down Machinima back in 2018. Because, Rooster Teeth was kind of the reason why. Because when Warner Brothers and AT&T merged, Warner Brothers decided that, hey, well, AT&T owns Machinima, we own Rooster Teeth. We kind of don't need both of these companies because they do the same thing. So that's why Machinima got shut down. So we're kind of in a similar, right? Like, I know there was a story a few years ago, like probably like a year or two ago, about Warner Brothers trying to sell Rooster Teeth, right? That they were looking for somebody to buy them, and that was the hope. But clearly it didn't happen, so they've decided to shut them down. Of course, they are still looking for buyers to buy their IP, right? Ruby, Red vs. Blue, Genlock. And then the other thing is, even though Rooster Teeth as a company has been shut down, and what entirely that means, we still don't entirely know. Like, I know there was a live stream where they talked about things, but it feels like a lot of things are still up in the air. But one of the things we know wasn't shut down was The Roost. The Roost was their podcast network. They started a few years ago, right, that does things like Fuckface, Face Jam, Tales from the Stinky Dragon, Red Web. I'm sure there's other stuff. I don't know. Those are the only podcasts I know that, because I think Dog Bark has a podcast. I know the Achievement Under podcast doesn't exist anymore. I don't think the Rooster Teeth podcast exists anymore. That was around the time I stopped, was when, because I stopped watching Rooster Teeth at, like, maybe was it the beginning of 2023 or the beginning of 2022? Because I remember the last thing I watched from them was the New Year's episode of the Rooster Teeth podcast. I remember watching that, and it might have been like, it was somebody's last episode. I don't think it was Gus's, but it might have been like Gavin's. It might have been Gavin or Gus's. I don't know. It was something like that. And it was just like, oh, okay, well, I guess I don't really have a reason to watch this podcast anymore. Like, I feel like a bunch of people left all of a sudden. But yeah, I remember it being a New Year's one. And then, yeah, that takes us to... But yeah, so the Roost is not being shut down. Of course, Warner Brothers is going to try to sell the Roost. But the reason the Roost isn't being shut down is because it's actually profitable. Because I guess some of what came out in all this is that part of the reason Rooster Teeth is being shut down is because they're not profitable. And they haven't been profitable for like 10 years. Which, I don't know how much money they've been losing, Warner Brothers, but there is no way that Rooster Teeth, even losing money for like 10 years, there is no way they were losing Warner Brothers more money than The Flash lost Warner Brothers. Right? The Flash, one of the biggest box office bombs of all time, that Warner Brothers put all their stocks on. There's no way Rooster Teeth lost them more money than that. I mean, it's possible, but I really doubt it. But you know, number go up, right? They've got to keep the number going up. They've got to keep the investors happy. And if shutting down Rooster Teeth, right, allows the number to go up, right? Like, we talked last week about how in the gaming industry, studios fire these hundreds of, sometimes even thousands of employees just to be like, hey, we're still making a profit, right? We're making more money than last year. Are they making more money because they fired a bunch of people? And they, right, their salaries no longer count? Yes. And that's what Warner Brothers is doing here. The video game industry and the film industry are the exact, right, they're the exact same because of the inexplicable weight of capitalism. So, yeah, no, that's kind of where we're at right now with that. So, the Roost, right, and of course, my first thought is, like, we've seen in recent years a lot of people, a lot of these internet companies, these video content creators, go independent. And I was always I'm like, I know Warner Brothers owns Rooster Teeth, but there was always part of me that, like, wanted them to go independent, right? Like, College Humor. College Humor has found great success by going independent. Smosh recently, right? They went independent because they were threatened to be shut down until Rhett and Link bought them out. And now they're independent, right? Ian and Anthony reunited. And maybe it's just because I'm watching more Smosh recently since everything happened. But I feel like Smosh has been putting out some great stuff recently. Every week I talk about College Humor, how they're doing fantastic stuff. Right? Game Changer, Dimension 20, actually, they're doing fantastic work. But Rooster, and there are other companies as well that have gone independent and it's actually been working really well. Elliot over at Internet Today put it that it's a lot easier to be profitable as an independent video game, right? As an independent entertainment company when you don't have to pay billion-dollar CEOs millions of dollars that you made for them. Because they were shut down. They were Machinima, right? They were Machinima, Elliot and Ricky, before going independent after Machinima got shut down. And they've been making great stuff for years over at Internet Today. And so part of me kind of hopes that even if they can't get their brand back, I don't know, I think, because of the original founders of Rooster Teeth, the only one still there is Jeff. Bernie left, Gus left, Matt Helm left. The only one still there was Jeff, right? And he was doing like fuckface and whatnot. And it would actually be nice to, see Jeff and, whoever wants to still, be there to, go independent, start a new company, and, do it on their own. Take the College Humor approach to things. Because I feel like College Humor has been doing great stuff. Yeah, you're definitely going to have to scale things down a lot. But I don't know, man. The podcasts are good. Fuckface was a great podcast. Face Jam was a great podcast. Right? There's a reason the Roost makes money. Because they make some good stuff there. I don't know. You listen to Jeff, and I remember years ago him saying his two biggest regrets are naming the company Rooster Teeth and naming the brand Achievement Hunter. Even if they can't get back the rights to Rooster Teeth and Achievement Hunter, I think this is their chance to be like, hey, naming something is hard. Trust me, I know. I rebranded back in God, has it been like 8 years since I rebranded? I have probably been Fulcrum longer than I was Q at this point. Probably. It's probably been 8 years, and I think I was the original name for 6. It's coming up on 8. It'll be 8 years in September. Holy shit, I've never thought about that. But, right, like, I rebranded because I hated the original name. I was like, I hate the original name. God, I need a better name. And then I got a name, and it's like, it's better. And now, 8 years later, I hate it. Like, and there's nothing stopping me from rebranding. Like, I'm not big enough that I could just burn it all down and start over again. Like, there's nothing stopping me from doing that. Right? Like, I'm nowhere near popular enough to, not burn it. Because I could afford to do that. Because 8 years later, I hate the new name. Not as much as I hated the original. And I still kind of do hate the original. Because creating a new name is hard. But right, even if they lose the names Fuckface, Face Jam, Tales from the Stinky Dragon, they can always rebrand. Start over. Right? You can't come for the people, not the brand. Go independent. Don't make... Because, I'm sure at the time, selling to whatever studio bought them. It wasn't Warner Brothers. I cannot remember what studio bought them. Right, whatever one it was. Whatever they did, right, maybe it made sense at the time. But after, everything that's happened, especially, I think it was Machinima. The shuttering of Machinima was kind of what changed everyone's perspective of, like, maybe these old media companies buying new media companies is a bad idea. Yeah, you know, let's go with that. Maybe it was the shuttering of Machinima that kind of changed everyone's perspective on these things. And rightfully so. Because what happened to Machinima was disgraceful. And I've definitely... The sentiment... Right, because when Warner Brothers shut down Machinima, all of their content was deleted. There are so many lost videos that you just... Right, that are lost to time because... because nobody knew Machinima was gonna have their channels deleted. Right? But Warner Brothers just scrapped it all, and I bet the same thing might happen to Rooster Teeth. Like, we have no idea what's gonna happen to the website, right? What's gonna happen to Ruby and all of this. But all those hundreds of Achievement Hunter, all those Let's Play videos, all the Rooster Teeth videos from the main channel are all in danger of being lost media. Like, it is very possible. I wish there was a way to see how many videos have been uploaded. But I guarantee all of them are in danger of being lost media. So get what you can. Right? Like, I already know, like, Rooster Teeth and Achievement Hunter already have a bunch of videos that are lost media that have been, you know, deleted over the years that you can't find anymore. But, like, it's a real possibility that within the next year, I'm going to be generous and say year, a lot of it could be lost forever. I especially see them shuttering the website, and there's a lot of stuff on the website that's not on YouTube, right? Because I know they did a bunch of videos that were like website exclusives, and I'm not, right, because, you know, for paid first members. So I could see any and all of that being lost media. So get what you can before it goes down, because I do think it's going to go down. Maybe not today, maybe not in the next, like, 2 months, but Warner Brothers has a track record. Let's just put it like that. And I know people are already archiving stuff, and good. Good on them. I don't know. I've been thinking about, like, what stuff, if I were to archive anything, what would I want to archive? What stuff would I miss? Like, because, you know, I could see myself being in, like, 10 years, like, oh, the website's gone, the channel's gone, and then just randomly wanting to watch, I don't know, what's a Rooster Teeth thing? Hardcore tabletop, right? Just randomly feeling like, you know, I kind of want to watch hardcore tabletop, and it just not existing anymore. I could totally see that being a thing. And that would suck. Genuinely, that would... Survive Block Island. Right? That was near the end. Survive Block Island was fantastic. I really did enjoy that. Yeah, Survival in Minecraft, right? As one of the last things I think I watched from them, that was great. And it's gonna kind of suck to do that. Or same thing with, like, a random episode... Because some of those first episodes of Fuckface are still some of the funniest shit. And I've seen, like, an episode or two. I honestly might binge an episode or two. Just out of morbid curiosity to kind of see what they're up to. I think the last piece of merch I bought from them was Fuckface. I think the Gerpler was the last thing I bought from them. Yeah, that sounds right. It was a good podcast. I know, and I know there are some people who... There's been a lot of reaction to this, because one of the things... So, I don't know how it... I mean, okay, somebody smarter than me could better explain how it happened. I know there is an explanation, but somehow Rooster Teeth ended up with such a cunty, asshole fan base. Like, their fan base were just filled with assholes. Not everyone. There were plenty of good people. But there were plenty of just toxic assholes. And it really sucked, right? Like, that was, honestly, like, it was both they had a toxic fan base, and the company did nothing about it. That was, and that honestly, problem 1 created problem 2, and problem 2 created problem 1. Like, honestly, that's how it works. That, right? Rooster Teeth didn't want it, right? They had a rule. Never interact with the comments. Never read the comments, right? The comments don't exist. And because of that, it just allowed the fan base to, internally stew and become more toxic, right? Thus, driving people away from the studio. And their approach was always like, don't read the comments. But it just made things worse. And by the time they, after controversy number 2 or 3, when they were finally like, no, we do have to address things, by that point it was too late. They already had such a toxic fan base that there was nothing they could do about it. Right? And that, I feel like it's been, like, I don't know when that started, right? Like, maybe it's always been kind of shitty, but at least from my personal experience, it started with Ray. Once Ray left Achievement Hunter, it was just like all the worst fans came out of the woodworks, and they just kind of never went away. No matter how much they were told to fuck off, they just never did. And it was because, like, the people in this company were like, yeah, we're inclusive, we support the LGBTQ, but the fan base was just so toxic, so white male, we hate the LGBTQ, we hate women, right? We hate people of color. When, like, the company was saying the exact opposite, the fandom just, oh my god, it was a nightmare, and it drove many people away, and yeah, they just never fucking left. And right, they're like, oh, I miss the days when Ray was here. Like, Ray has been gone for, I want to say it's been like twice as long as he worked there. If not, it's coming up on it. And yet these people just don't want to fucking leave. Like, if you missed Ray so much, go watch his shit. Guess what? He's been making great streams. I've watched plenty of Ray's stuff. Him, Matt, Chibi, and Nags have been doing a lot of stuff recently, and it's been fantastic. Ray and Chibi is so fucking funny, right? Because Chibi is a fan and picks on Ray with the fandom stuff, and it's really fucking funny. But, like, right, people always wanted to, like, Rooster Teeth to recapture their youth. And it's like, no, people change. I know change is scary, but people changed. The company changed. Right? Achievement Hunter wasn't shut down because of David Zaslav in this. They were shut down because people changed. People grew up. Right? I just got done with Kung Fu Panda 4, and right, there's a big point about change in there that I feel like a lot more people need to learn. Because I get it. But no, even though Rooster Teeth has plenty of problems, and I definitely feel like now is not the time to bring those up. Like, especially, like, I guess people have been going after some of, like, the staff to be like, oh my god, you guys suck so much, blah, blah, blah. That same toxic bullshit. And it's like, 150 people just lost their fucking jobs. I know the company had problems. I know there are people who never want to be involved with the company again. Completely understandable. Leave them the fuck alone. Let them mourn. This is David Zaslav basically murdered this company. Right? Like, I get it. But, God, some of these fucking cunts, man. It just never, even years later, right? It just never changed. And I would say, like, oh, maybe a restart would be a good time to do some, right? If a new brand, new fandom. No, I feel like they're kind of fucked, honestly. I don't feel like there's anything they could do that would get them out of this scenario. But even with all that, my memories of the company and, what they did, I still hold it very dearly. Right? There are a lot of things that I enjoy that, even back in, looking back at Rooster Teeth in hindsight, yes, they have problems. Yes, we just spent the past, 20 minutes talking about a bunch of them. I still will look back and remember a lot of things fondly. I look back, and while I don't, it's important to learn from the bad stuff, but I hope to remember most of the good stuff as well. Right? Things like, you know, the Minecraft. Going home every Friday. It was so exciting to see a new Minecraft video. Every Monday coming home to a new GTA video. Those were so good. And like stuff's already been tainted for years now, so what's even the point? They had a lot of the first series I loved. Hardcore Tabletop. Survive Block Island was pretty good. Hardcore Mini Golf. Haunter. I know Achievement Haunter was not profitable. Like, they've said that that show was stupid fucking expensive. Guess what? It was even though it was still a great show. Last Laugh. Funhouse's Last Laugh series. Fantastic. What other? God, there's been so much shit over the past 10 years. I don't even know how to sum it all up. And admittedly, I was really big, right? I was only really big into, like, Rooster Teeth and Achievement Hunter. I never got into Funhouse. I've never really been a big Death Battle fan. I did get into Kinda Funny through them. I remember they did when I first got First. The big thing that got me to finally, like, start paying money for First, because I had been a fan for years before I got First. The big thing that actually got me to start paying for it was they did, like, a Let's Play Spring Break, Family Reunion. It was one of those two. And during that, it was, right, Achievement Hunter, Funhouse, Kinda Funny, and I think Couch Hop at the time. And it was them, and that was like, and I'd never heard of this Greg Miller guy that everyone was talking about. And right, he was there, and I was like, oh, you know, this guy's pretty funny. I was like, you know, maybe I'll check out this, because he kept, you know, promoting Kinda Funny. And I was like, you know what, maybe I'll check out this Kinda Funny. And now, I don't know, probably 6 years later, I'm still a fan of Kinda Funny. You know, they're easily the second biggest influence on this show. Right? They're a huge influence on what I do every Friday night. And yeah, I'd never heard of them before that, Rooster Teeth. Oh god, there's just so many things. Chef Mike, right? Chef Mike showing up on the podcast. So great. So many fun moments. Him, oh god, Extra Life, right? Him going against Lindsay in Extra Life. The Extra Life bit, one of the best Extra Life bits of all time, in my opinion, is them doing, they did werewolves. And they had Xavier Woods on. And it was whenever someone got eliminated, they got slapped by him. And he did not hold back. And it's so fucking funny. It's one of my favorite bits. I guarantee you can find it on YouTube. If you've never seen it before, I do highly recommend it. Great Extra Life that year. The Rooster Teeth animated stuff. All the 3 animators they had. Oh god. The only one I can remember off the top of my head was Misty. I know they had 2 more. Did fantastic jobs. It was Misty, Sean, and oh god, who was the 3rd one? Fuck, it's not Javier. It was I don't. There was a 3rd one. I cannot remember his name. The Achievement Hunter animated stuff was so good. They had some great animation. Even just Rooster Teeth animated adventures. There were some real funny ones in there. God. Michael and Jeremy doing Crash Bandicoot. Near the end, Matt and Michael doing I think it was Wind Waker randomized, Ocarina of Time randomized. They did some randomizer series. Those were fantastic. Jeremy streaming 12 hours of Spyro. Oh my gosh, Little J's Little Desk that then became Jeremy Gets a Raise. Fucking shenanigans in general. Like, I think they only ever made like, there's no way, they made like maybe 8 of them total. And they were all fantastic, right? Give me your milk is, I probably laughed harder at Give Me Your Milk than anything else. I remember just the point, just there's a point where Ryan just sits down and is like, oh yeah, you know, nobody's leaving this room, right? Like, he threatens to murder them all. And it's just the look, the way he says it. It's so fucking funny. God, Give Me Your Milk was hilarious. The carnival, right, as a revenge prank, the carnival, lava chicken, God, there was so much good stuff. Because a lot of the live action stuff was good. The era of Moonballs. I bought a Moonball because of them, and I still have it. I have it displayed like a baseball. I have a Garbo mug. Still sitting on my desk to this day is one of those shitty Garbo mugs. That's like basically like a shot glass, but impossible to drink out of. I use it to hold dice for D&D. It holds dice and coins. I fucking love that stupid Garbo. Right? What a funny, stupid thing that I love. I wish that they did a puzzle at one point, and I really wish the puzzle had the eye. It was a completely black puzzle, but it had like, I wish it had the Garbo eyes built on, but I think the Garbo eyes were like stickers, and that was such a disappointment. But I think the completely black puzzle is a very funny idea. What else? Salad Chalice. I know it was a failure, but it's funny because it's a failure. What else? The cat. I always wanted to make a video examining how Rooster Teeth, Achievement Hunter specifically, had the perfect group dynamic. Because I do feel like they had, the 6 to 8 of them had the perfect group dynamic, right? They filled every role really, really well. And it was just, like, it was always one of those ideas I had in the back of my head that I just never got around to. And then, like, you know, then all the controversies happened, right? Specifically the Ryan thing. And it was like, well, now this video is impossible to make. But, right, they had, right, I felt like the group, right, Michael, Gavin, Jeff, Jack, Ryan, Ray / Jeremy, and Lindsay were the perfect group. And then I feel like all the talent they got, right, after Ray left, right, you just had a bunch of great talent as well. Right, I don't want to low cut anybody. I feel like all the people who joined after, right, like I know they get a lot of shit because they're not the original cast, right? They're not the original 7. But I feel like you had so many great people, right? Of course, after Ray left, you get Jeremy and Matt, and they're both fantastic. And also, I know some people say it's the original 6, not the original 7. I will always count Lindsay in there, right? I know Lindsay wasn't in a lot of things, but Lindsay will always be important to me. Lindsay will always be the original, right, part of the original cast, because she's been there just as long as the rest of them. Even if she was, you know, working behind the scenes as, you know, the boss for a while, she will always be just as important, in my opinion. But yeah, right, Matt, Jeremy, Trevor was great. Game Kid Trevor is one of my favorite bits, right? Trevor's boss? You mean Game Kid Trevor? Fuck, Ray saying that was hilarious. That's another great moment. When Ray showed back up a few years later to be on the Achievement Hunter podcast for one episode. So fucking funny. But yeah, they were great. Alfredo was a great addition. I really feel like right at first I was like, oh, who's this new guy? I don't know how to feel about this new guy. And then the fucking the salt raid happened, and it was like, I love this guy. He's fucking hilarious. And Alfredo has been a great addition. Fiona, I know everyone loves Michael and Gavin. I get it. They're really funny together, right? The Play Pals, the Summer Boys. Don't get me wrong. They're an amazing dynamic. But Fiona and Gavin were also a hilarious dynamic, right? It was described as, older sister, little brother. And that was so fucking funny. Oh, Jack and Fiona as, dad and daughter was also fucking hilarious. Fiona was amazing. And it was kind of the same thing where when Fiona joined, I was like, really? Like, okay, I'm gonna get used to this. And then the fucking "it's a candy, you bitch" happened. And it was like, yep, she's amazing. And yeah, so many. The 3-part series of Gavin teaching Fiona GTA, phenomenal. And yeah, Chung Shua was fantastic. And then you have, right, in more recent years, you had Kai, who I liked, she was funny. I know she did a lot of work in more recent years as a producer. And yeah, I remember her doing some good Minecraft stuff. BK was good. I know she's been doing Inside Gaming with Jack and whatnot. And then there was Joe as well. Was Joe the last edition? It was something like that. Joe was also pretty good. I can't think of any big standout moment from Joe. But the only thing I can think of is when were they running exercise balls into each other? I don't know why that's the first thing that comes to mind. It was something like that. Right after the pandemic. Maybe it was right before the pandemic. I don't remember. But no, I do feel like they had an amazing... And there's tons of other people I'm forgetting. Larry, I was so glad Larry was able to make his board game show. Let's Roll was fantastic. I got right through Let's Roll. I got into Red Dragon Inn, which I'd never heard of, but now I'm a huge fan of. Their Muffin Time video was so fucking good. Right, that happened during the pandemic. And I had Muffin Time. But God, the moment of just Michael resetting the game was so good. Right, that was so fucking funny. What's some other Let's Roll moments that stand out? There were so many good ones. They made an official they had an official Monopoly board, which I always thought was so cool, but it was always it was like $50. And I'm like, I'm not spending $50 on a Monopoly board. And I never did. Like, because it never went on sale as well. I could never justify buying a $50 Monopoly board. But it was cool that they did it. Oh god, Uno the movie. Oh my god, Uno the movie was amazing. Yeah, that was just, like, it happened on the day of the 2016 election. Like, wild to think about in hindsight. And then I know they did Uno Infinite later on. That lasted for multiple days. I don't think I watched, like, once or twice. I don't know. By that point, I was, already kind of out. I was on my way out, but it was a fun idea. I guess, I haven't really talked about Red vs. Blue or Ruby. And I'll be honest, I didn't really watch much Red vs. Blue or Ruby. I was more of a fan of, the Achievement Hunter, the Let's Play style. Ruby never really... right? Ruby was always that thing where I was like, I'll get around to it. And then I just never did. Same thing with Red vs. Blue. Like, I was like, oh yeah, at some point I have to watch this. Because, it's very important to the company. And I just never did. I just never got around to watching... And I really... now I should watch it. Right now that, things are ending. I really should be like, yeah, you know, it's finally time to watch Red versus Blue. Finally time to watch Ruby. I know Ruby's got plenty of problems. Yeah. I did watch the first season of Genlock. I actually liked the first season of Genlock. It wasn't like the best thing since Sliced Bread. There are definitely tons of other animated shows that did it, that have done better. But you know, it was fine. I liked it. You know, it was it was fun to watch week from week. You know, they had Michael B. Jordan, they had David Tennant. I felt like it was good. And then I just couldn't be bothered to watch the second season. Right? Like, I know the second season premiered on HBO Max, and I was just like, I don't care. I just don't care at this point. And I've heard some things. And like, there have been moments where I was like, you know what, maybe I will finally watch this. And then I heard some things and was like, you know, maybe I shouldn't. I don't know. I feel like Genlock had like a solid premise. It had an okay execution. But it really, from what I saw of the second season, I was like, this isn't it. I don't even know why I hit stop there. I was just like, this isn't it. You know, this is not gonna, like, I can't even, I want to say, like, Michael B. Jordan's character, they had, like, cloned him a bunch. Because, like, I think one of the interesting things was that he was the villain, right? Because they bring up, like, hey, guess what? He can make a copy of the mind. And, right, the actual villain, like, this evil, like, death robot is actually just the version of him that was captured. And the one we've been following is just a clone. And I was like, that's an interesting idea. I didn't entirely love how the ending was executed. But it was an interesting idea. But then I guess in the second season, there's like 1,000 of him now. And that's just way less interesting. Like, it takes a very personal story and just kind of removes all the personal from it. And then there were some other things that, again, I've heard. I've never actually seen it, but I've heard things, and I'm like, oh, fuck, okay, I don't want to deal with that. That sounds like a nightmare. But yeah. And then Ruby has its own set of problems. I don't know, go watch the H-Bomber Guy video. But hey, the red trailer slapped. Right. I don't know. For every one thing I'm talking about, there's at least a dozen things I'm not. That are like, oh yeah, these were amazing things that I'm just not even mentioning. But yeah. But yeah, I don't know where they're gonna go from here. They did do a final stream that was like, hey, this is the end, right? Hey, let's answer some questions, right? Jordan Levitz is going to come out. The CEO is going to talk. I did not watch it, but I caught a few, because I was at work when it happened, but I caught a few minutes of it, specifically when everyone was talking, right? They were, like, passing the mic around and giving each person there, like, a minute to talk, and I fucking listened to Larry talk, and oh my god, it just destroyed me. Like, holy shit. I really should watch it. It's like 2 hours. The one I saw that some people get mad because I guess in that Jordan Levitz talks about how, like, hey, a view isn't enough anymore. That back in the day, you know, you used to be able to watch a video and that was supporting it. And now a view isn't enough. And if you want to support, right, you got to be like, when these people go on and make new projects, you got to support them on Patreon. And I saw some people get mad at that statement, but he's right. At least the way it has been, not watching the stream, the way it has been described to me of what he said, he is correct. That, you know, this isn't 2014 YouTube anymore. We have lived through multiple adpocalypses. Advertising on YouTube doesn't make nearly as much money as it does anymore. YouTube doesn't support studios the way that they do. Oh my god, fucking Immersion. Immersion with, specifically the Michael and Gavin ones, were so fucking good. Surgeon Simulator, the one where the do Hitman, so fucking good. Okay, back on topic, right? He is right. Being a viewer doesn't actually help people. It doesn't actually support shows anymore. right? Because this is, you know, you're getting hundreds of hours of free content. Viewing it, well, yes, that used to work. It just doesn't anymore. That's not how things work. And being a Patreon, being, you know, joining up like a YouTube membership, in theory, that's what first was supposed to be, and it looks like it just wasn't making money and hasn't been. But, right, he is correct, right? Or at least, again, from what has been described to me, it is correct to say that, yes, being a viewer, if you really like these people and you want to support them outside of that, right, outside of what they're doing, right, you really do have to become a Patreon. He is correct in that statement. I do not know from personal experience, mind you. This is all, you know, secondhand information, but trust me, I've heard it plenty of times. Right? Because, like, back in the day, YouTube used to support creators. They used to, you know, they used to invest a lot of money in making good, high-quality content. And now they just don't anymore. And it's because of, you know, things like the adpocalypse. Because, you know, brands don't want these creators who are, you know, saying the N-word or getting outed as pedophiles. Right? It keeps happening. And that's why. Buying merch helps a lot, right? Kind of like the music industry. Like, CDs don't make money. If you've got an artist you like, you have to go see them in concert, right? You gotta buy their merchandise. CDs, albums don't make money. Streaming a song on Spotify does nothing for anybody. It's just kind of the way it works nowadays. I wish it didn't work like that. I wish people, you know, could go on and make the content they love, and as long as they're getting views, you know, they've got support. But that's just not how it works. It sucks. And again, there may be a whole element to this I'm missing, right? He might have said something else alongside that. That's just how it was explained to me. I'm sure I could keep talking for hours about this, right? Again, Rooster Teeth was an integral part of my life for many years, right? I've given them hundreds of my dollars over the years, and like, and unlike some other, you know, creators where it's like, oh, this guy was outed as a pedophile, and it's just like, oh god, I'm so filled with regret forever watching them. Even though Rooster Teeth has its fair share of problems, I don't know if I have much regret. There have been a lot of good that comes from it. A lot of people, right, even these, right, people who, you know, turned on the company, rightfully so, because of all the terrible things they've done. It's because of the company that I know they exist. So I'm glad, right, in a way, I'm glad. Because, right, it's because of the company that I can follow their work. See all the great things they do. And, you know, continue to do outside of the company. Yeah, I have no idea what happens next. Whatever, because like I mentioned when Achievement Hunter ends, like, hey, they're starting this new thing, Dog Bark. And I was like, okay, you know, I'm glad they're making something they like. I'm not going to watch it. And that's kind of how I feel for new Rooster, right? Whatever comes next. Like, you know, I hope these people go out there. I hope they make great stuff. Depending on who's there, I'm probably not going to watch it. But you never know. I don't know. The big complication for me is Jeff. Like, I think Jeff's hilarious. He's done great stuff. He's been very sincere, very caring. But then you hear some of these stories and it's like, it just makes things so complicated. Because again, the fandom and... But I don't want anyone's livelihoods ruined. I guess that's what I'm saying, right? Like, I hope these people go out, because there were a lot of talented people there, and I hope a lot of them go out and find great success. But I don't know. God, it's such a messy situation. And I can't just pretend it's not. Right? Like, as much as I say, like, I'm looking back and remembering the good times, I'm not going to deny the bad times didn't exist. Especially near the end. I think that's what that's kind of how Matt Bragg put it. Was like, oh, you know, I've had a lot of good times. I met some of my best friends. And while things weren't always good, especially near the end, he still has a lot of good fun memories. I should actually just find that tweet. Give me a second. Matt Bragg. There we go, Matt Bragg. I'm not sure what to say, but everything I have now is because of Rooster Teeth took a chance on me. While I wasn't always perfect, especially not the ending, I made some of my best friends and had some of my best memories of my life there. For that, I'm eternally grateful. I feel like that's a good way to put it. Right? Things weren't always great, but it did a lot for me. Right? It was there when I needed it most. And for that, it will always have a special place in my heart. Do I have any closing words? I mean, we've been going for an hour now. Honestly, I'm not surprised I talked about this for an hour. Like I said, I was like, oh, today's going to be a short show. No, of course it was never going to be. And that's... So I don't have any closing words. That's the only news story I have. Again, other things happened. Go check out Kinda Funny. Go check out Inside Gaming. I don't know. Who knows who's posting anything anymore. Go follow every person I talked about. Almost every person I talked about. They're doing great stuff. Any other names I have to throw out? I don't know if I've said Caden or Mika's names, right? Mika Burton and Caden Jensen? Yeah, go follow them as well. I really don't... I know Caden's still voice acting. I don't know what Mika's doing nowadays, because I think the Overwatch League is shut down, and... Yeah. But, you know, go follow them. They're probably doing... I know Caden's on Blue Sky. Don't know where Mika is. Right, everyone else I mentioned. Anybody else who I still need? Carrie, Miles. Anybody else? I'm always gonna forget someone. Specifically a lot of their editors and their behind the scenes staff. You know, Sarah, Steffi. Jaren. Yeah. I hope they all find something out there. But we gotta move on. Yeah, that's the only news story I got. You know. What else did you expect from me? So, moving on to WIBE, I guess. What have I been doing? Have I played any video game? No. I know they released a demo for the Princess Peach Showtime game. I'll be honest, I can't be fucking bothered. Like, I know it exists. I hear people say it's okay. But I just can't be bothered to play it. And if I'm being frankly honest... I'll play the game when it comes out, maybe, but this whole demo thing, whatever. I haven't played any Splatoon. I mean, I think I did like one run of Side Order, and where I just turned off everything, and was like, you know, let's see, you know, if I can complete a run without any upgrades. I could not. I got my ass kicked. I think I made it up to like 15 or something like that, because I used the Octo, right, 8's kit. And I think I made it up to like 4:15. And then if you have the one, you know, I understand the point of that's like where you can get like triple the pearls. I hate the fact that it does nothing if you lose. Like, I wish it still gave you something if you lost. Because it feels like, oh, well, you know, I spend 20... Because runs take longer when you don't have any of the upgrades. Because, right, you're doing less damage and whatnot. So it's like, oh, I spend 30 minutes on this run to fail at floor 15. And now, right, I get nothing. I get no rewards or anything. That really sucks. Something I like... One of the good things about roguelites is that even failed runs get you nothing. So while the extra pearl thing may be like a nice idea, I do not like the execution and will not be using it. I know that that'll make it slower to unlock everything, but I just kind of feel like that's what you have to do. But it's still a good DLC, you know, that doesn't really change my mind on anything. Oh, come on. What else? Have I been doing... I did watch the first season of Hell of a Boss. I literally just finished it like a few hours ago. And I liked it. You know, I thought it was pretty decent. I like all three of our main character, or four of our main characters, I guess. They're all really good. They're really interesting characters. Right, Moxie and Millie being in a relationship adds a lot to the dynamic. I think that's good. Right, that's a good dynamic to add. Blitz has, right, this whole, like, tragic backstory. I love that, right, him with the prince. That's a lot. Yeah, is he a prince? Is he a king? I'm gonna guess he's I think they call him a prince. I do like that. I love this bit. I loved so in episode 5, I think, they go down to Wrath. And it reminds me a lot of honestly, a lot of it reminds me of Futurama, if I'm being honest. Right, like they go down to the Wrath Plane, and the Wrath Plane is just like a western town, and right Moxie meets Millie's parent, or you know they've met before obviously, but like they don't like him, but there's like this cool guy that they do like, right? It very much reminds me of like one of the Futurama episodes where they go to Mars, but I love the reveal that the guy, right, he's hired to kill, it's Solus, right? The prince. You know, I think it's Solus. He's hired to kill Solus, and then you find out at the very end that it was Solus's wife who he's cheating on. Hired him. And literally they're across at the dinner table. I liked right, where they go to Lululand, and right, it's just Solus trying to, spend some time with his daughter, but it all goes to shit, and then Blitz gets in a fight with a robot clown, and they end up destroying Lululand. That was really funny. That was all well done. The episode, I think it was episode 6, where they go to where they get captured in the human world. So it's Blitz and Moxie are captured, and they end up going on like a drug trip as they get injected with truth-telling serum. Meanwhile, Looney and Millie are like trying to break them out. That was a fantastic episode. Honestly, I think of the 8 I've seen so far, 7, 8, whatever, of the first season, I think that's the best one, honestly. The drug trip, right, works really well for their characters. Having, right, Solus come in and save them at the end is really well done. Right, making him really intimidating. Right, it's the best animation of any of the episodes, like right, for like YouTube, right, I mentioned earlier about every animator is overworked. Yeah, no, you've got some high quality animation, but that definitely came at the cost of people. which really fucking sucks. But sadly, that's just the way it is. I think the first episode has a strong, right, as like a setup to the show with the school teacher, and then she wants them to kill the mistress who survived, and then you find out they're like a bunch of Satan worshippers. I think that's all really good. I think that's a good, like, explaining, like, the premise of the show. That's a good start to things. Yeah, the character dynamics are just really strong in Hell of a Boss. I feel like that's, like, the show's biggest, like, asset, is that I think all the different dynamics work really well. Blitz, the one where they go to spring break to get more kills than Blitz's ex-girlfriend, is, like, really interesting. Hey, Diana, how you doing? I'm doing okay. You know, it is what it is. What else? Anything? The final 2 episodes. So I like the where they go to Ozzy's, and it's Osmodius, and he's trying to get like a whole lust thing out of him. I thought the setup to the episode was going to be like, hey, they're at Osmodius's, and all of Blitz's exes are there, right? Because you have that clown thing. You've of course got Solus, who's with them, and you've got the succubus is there. And I was like, that's a funny setup to an episode. And it's not really, like, it's definitely a more serious episode. But it was a good episode. And then the finale, of course, you got Kesha there as, I think they're supposed to be Beelzebub, right? Gluttony. And, like, you find out that Tex is, dating Beelzebub. And, Blitz just gets fucking wasted because, they're trying to repress their feelings after their date night went to shit. Like, I felt like the finale was pretty good. Getting Kesha there is, like, fucking, like... I remember people talking about that when that happened. Right? Like, how much of a big deal that was. And, it's cool. It's cool. I get why everyone talks about it. Yeah. I enjoyed it. Do I like Hazbin Hotel more? Yes. But I feel like it's still a good show. And, yeah, I get why everyone freaked out about it. I will be watching the second stream. I will be watching the second season. Eventually. How's the stream going? Oh, we're actually winning a lot tonight. We've actually been doing pretty well. Like, we haven't been winning everything, but I'm pretty sure we're at like... Are we at like Super 20, Super Fresh 20 right now? We've been doing pretty decent tonight. I'm glad I switched away from Big Run. Big Run just takes up too much of my mental capacity. Yeah, it just completely fries my brain. Oh, we're at Super Fresh 17. Okay. Yeah, we're doing pretty good. Do I have anything... I've got 2 big things to talk about, but yeah, I got it, got that. I got a few little emotions, just keeping it simple, it's fun. It's not too complex, but that's kind of the way I like. I'm a very low key guy. So the other thing I did watch was Dune. I finally, I hadn't seen a movie in like 2 months. So I finally sat down and watched Dune. And I hadn't seen the first one since it released. And I liked the first one. It was really good. But I was like, definitely like, yeah, I want a second part. I want to see how they wrap the story up and everything. I'll be honest, I've never read the books. I have never read Dune. But I watched the David Lynch movie, right? The original Dune movie I saw years ago now. Right? Before I saw the 2021 one. So I was like, okay, you know what? Let's, right, this new Dune is good. Right? It's part 1, let's see where part 2 goes. I'll be honest, I only rewatched like an hour of the first one before going into part 2. I wanted to rewatch all of part 1. I just didn't have the time. So I just didn't get around to it. And I was like, right before I saw it, I was like, fuck, I've got like an hour. I guess I'll get about an hour into it. And yeah, the first one's still good. The second one, also really good. It's of the 2 movies I'm going to talk about tonight, it is definitely the better one. And it does a great job at, capturing things you want from the book. We get to see Paul's full villain arc as he goes from right at the start of the movie, he doesn't want to be the Messiah, to the movie ending with him, being the Messiah, betraying the girl he loves, and going full villain. Spoiler alert. Yeah, I should have said spoiler alert before then. It's a fucking... it doesn't matter. Right, there are people who see the movie and don't realize Paul's the villain, when it's very blatantly obvious he's the villain. And I don't know, I know the Dune books get weird as time goes on, but people like them. I don't know, I own the first one. I'm pretty sure I picked up the first one. I think I actually picked up the first 2. I think I picked up the first 2 around the time the first, part 1 came out. I read maybe like a third of it, and that was it. But no, this does, they didn't break the first book into 3 parts. This ain't fucking The Hobbit. It's just 2 parts instead. Which I definitely think is the better way to do. Because, God, those Hobbit movies were too long. Especially by the third one. It's like, no, these could have been done in... It probably could have been done in 1 movie, but definitely it should have been done in 2. But no, it's great. I will, so a lot last year, we talked about the idea of the difference between the best and the favorite, right? Your favorite thing, and the difference is, your favorite thing is the thing you personally like the most, right? It doesn't matter, right, what it does, right? The score, the cinematography, the acting, the directing, none of that matters. It's your favorite because it's your favorite. Whereas the best thing has, right, quantifiable things. You can look at, like, hey, this is the best movie because of the lighting, the directing, the cinematography, the acting. There are quantifiable things that make it the best movie. And that's kind of what I feel about this Dune movie. Like, it's really good because of quantifiable things. When I think about the acting, the directing, the cinematography, the choreography of the fight scenes, the VFX, there are a lot of specific things where I'm like, these are quantifiable elements that I can say this movie excels at. And on that level, yes, I do think it excels very much at what it does. I think it is one of the best. It's the best movie I've seen this year so far. It does what it does really well. And I do enjoy it. There are definitely some things. I definitely should have rewatched the first movie fully, but there are definitely some things I get lost at. Right, some of that techno jargon. The other thing I'll be honest about is when I saw this movie after working a 12-hour shift, and I was very fucking tired. I did not fall asleep, but goddamn was I close. There's specifically, probably an hour and a half in, there's a scene where we spend a lot of time with, God, I don't know the guy's name, but basically you go to the world with the black sun, and there's this whole gladiatorial sequence, and it was right around there where I could, like, feel myself like, oh my god, stay awake, fuck. Nothing against the movie. Again, I think everything it does is very well done. But god, I was so fucking tired. But I made it, you know, I didn't fall asleep. I got close, but I didn't. But it's definitely one of these things where I should... See, here's the thing. I definitely should watch this movie again. Because, again, it is very good. I should definitely do... When it comes out on, like, DVD, you do the double feature. That would make a lot of sense. But I don't actually know if I'm going to do that. Like, yes, quantifiably, it is a really good movie. But compared to the movie we're going to talk about next, where you could watch it 2 times, and the time it would take you to watch this once, I think I'd just rather see the other one again. Because, you know, like I said, as I get older, I have less and less time for movies. Right? I worked a fucking 12-hour shift before seeing this one. Of course I was tired. Okay, technically it wasn't 12 hours, but it was pretty fucking close. It was like 11 hours and 40 minutes. Still, you get my point, right? I just have less time. So, right, a 2.5 hour epic like Dune, I mean, right? I have a lot less time for than a 1 hour and 40 minute Kung Fu Panda. Oh, tired right now. But no, it is, by all quantifiable measurements, it's an amazing movie. And I do really enjoy it. It's just, I was so tired. Again, a lot of that techno jargon really, or a lot of the names, right? Like, I legitimately, outside of Paul and Duncan, Idaho, I don't remember any of the names. Fuck it, is it Jana? Is that Shanna? Chani? Is that the girlfriend? The mom's name is like Jessica or something like that. I kind of remember that. I don't know. I can't remember any of the names. But no, it is a really good movie. And it definitely deserves all the credit it's going to get. I hope it's doing well at the box office. Because, yeah, it's really good. I don't know, I guess I just don't sound... I feel... The reason why I keep saying this is because I listen to myself, and I'm like, I don't sound very enthusiastic about this movie. I really did enjoy this movie. It's just... I just don't sound enthusiastic about it. I do like it. It is really good. It is definitely rewatch the first one before seeing the second one. But it is an easy recommendation. The other movie I saw, though, was Kung Fu Panda 4. So, I'm sure I've said this in the past. The Kung Fu Panda movies are amazing. I think the 3 Kung Fu Panda movies make up the perfect trilogy. Like, I legitimately do think they are the best trilogy. Better than the Toy Story trilogy, better than the Godfather trilogy, better than the Good, the Bad, and the Ugly trilogy, better than the Die Hard quartology, better than... I'm literally just naming random trilogies at this point. Better than the John Wick trilogy. Okay, the John Wick trilogy is also pretty fucking good. But you get my point, right? I think they're definitely the best animated trilogy. I stand by the 3 Kung Fu Panda movies are better than the 3 Toy Story movies. Because I don't think Toy Story 3 is that good. Like, it's good, it's just not that good. Whereas Kung Fu Panda 3 is... Even though, for some reason, Kung Fu Panda 3 gets a bad rap, it should not. It's really good, and definitely seeing the 4th one actually makes me appreciate the 3rd one more. Because the 4th one kind of right, kind of like the same way that one of my big problems with Toy Story 3 is that it's basically just the plot of Toy Story 2 again. And I feel like it's just a worse version of that, because Toy Story 2 is fantastic. I can kind of say that about this movie, is that this is just Kung Fu Panda 3, but worse. Like, they're not doing the exact same things. The morals are very different, but they're very similar in a lot of ways. But I do... So, history with the series... You know, I watched the original. I had the original on DVD. I'd seen it a bunch of times. The second one, I do enjoy... Or I enjoyed when I saw it. But I didn't really think much of it at the time. I was like, yeah, this is, you know, another really good movie. And then the third one came out. And I remember seeing the third one on Valentine's Day. I remember we went to see the third one. And then we went to Dairy Queen afterwards. I specifically remember that year. Ah, brings back memories. But, yeah, because we went and got Blizzards afterwards. Right, and they were closing right as we got there. But they still served us. Ah. But, okay, so after I saw the third Kung Fu Panda, I went back and rewatched the first two. And while, you know, I still stand... The first one was better than I remember. I still stand by it was great. The second one was so much better than I remembered it. And the second one, I stand by, is the perfect movie. It's the perfect sequel, but I really do think on all factors, it is the perfect movie. It's a fantastic improvement from the first one, with an amazing story, a great moral, one of the best villains of all time. It's funny... It's heartbreaking. It really is just the perfect movie, in my opinion. The second Kung Fu Panda is better than Dune Part 2. Boom. There's a hot take that I will 100% stand by. And yes, I stand by it both quantifiable, right, both as the best movie and as a favorite movie. I think it fits both checkboxes. Like, I can stand by it both on a quantifiable level and on a non-quantifiable level. It's just that good of a movie. The third one, I still stand by as fantastic. It's of the original three, it is the weakest. But I still stand by it's a great movie. I think J.K. Simmons does a fantastic job as the villain. People do not... Yeah, sure, he's not as good as the villain from 2. He's still pretty good. And especially comparing it to the villain from 4, I think he's actually... The villain from 4 makes me actually like him more. But, J.K. Simmons is good. Bryan Cranston as the dad is fantastic. I think the story's really good, right? Of him discovering what it means to be himself. You know, the final fight scene is fantastic. It's an all-around great movie. It's the weakest of the original trilogy, but it's still like an 8 out of 10. I would rank them, the first one's a 9 out of 10, second one's a 10 out of 10, third one's an 8 out of 10. So where does that bring us with the fourth one? The fourth one for me sits between a 7 and an 8. I want to rate it higher than a 7 out of 10. But I can't bring myself to rate it an 8. I would say maybe it sits around like a 7. I'm going to say like a 7.6. I'm going to say like a 7.6. I do think the new one is the weakest of the movies, but it's still pretty good. I still do like it. Jack Black is on point as Poe. He still does a fantastic job. Awkwafina as this new Fox character whose name I completely forget yes, she has her Awkwafina-isms. But, you know, Jack Black has his Jack Black-isms, and I love those. I don't hate... Some people just really fucking hate Awkwafina. I think she's fine, and I think she does a fine job in this. Viola Davis as the Chameleon, I think voice acting-wise, she does fantastic. I think as the voice of the Chameleon, she's great. I will say the Chameleon's definitely the weakest of the villains in these movies. Like, I know a lot of people say J.K. Simmons as Kai was kind of weak. I think the Chameleon is a weaker villain. My big problem, and I'm going to get into spoilers right here, because I kind of have to, for what I want to say about this. I think the Chameleon is the weakest villain because of her motivation. So, the big thing with the Chameleon is she explains to Poe at one point that she wanted to be a master of Kung Fu. Right? She grew up being a fan of Kung Fu. She wanted to become a master, but she was considered too small and too weak to learn Kung Fu. So she was turned away by other masters. And I don't like that motivation. Not because it's a bad motivation. I think that's a solid motivation. My problem is the universe of Kung Fu Panda directly disagrees with that motivation. Because guess what? There are plenty of Kung Fu masters in this universe who are small and weak. Right? One of the main characters in the first 3 movies is Mantis. A fucking praying mantis. And he's even small. Like, the chameleon is small. Guess what? Mantis is even smaller. The 3rd movie had a master chicken who's pretty small. You know, I think the chicken's bigger than the chameleon, but not by much. There's one in the legendary, like, Hall of Masters in the Jade Palace. They mention a master, I think it's a master rat, who's got, like, all these tiny little helmets. Right? Like, there are plenty of examples of tiny masters. So I don't like that explanation of her motivation. Instead, I wish her motivation had been that she tried to learn Kung Fu, but couldn't do it. Maybe it was too hard for her. That's the one I wanted to be. Like, she tried to learn Kung Fu, but it was too difficult. She couldn't stick to it. She was struggling, and eventually she gave up, and instead learned sorcery, which came a lot easier to her. And now that she's learned sorcery, she's going to use it to steal Kung Fu from the great masters. Right? That she was unable to change herself. Right? To be, like, for any number of reasons, really. Like, honestly, it doesn't matter why she couldn't learn. But it was, right, I want her motivation to not be external. Right? That somebody else told her she couldn't learn Kung Fu. I want it to be internal. That, right, she gave up. She was lazy. Right? She struggled too much, and that was, right, she eventually quit. It could even be, would bullying work? I feel like bullying would be an okay motivation. Right? There are a number of reasons. You could say, like, hey, this is why she didn't learn it. So now she's trying to cheat. Right? She's cheating by stealing Kung Fu from other people. I feel like that's a much more solid motivation there. And it fits a lot better with the theme. Because the theme of the movie is change. Right? Poe has to get an apprentice. Which, I will be honest, it's very... Because, like, Shifu comes to Poe at the beginning of the movie. And is like, hey, you've become... Right? You're the master. Right? You've been the Dragon Warrior for so long. It's now time for you to pick an apprentice. But why? Why does he now have to pick an apprentice? Like, that's one of the, Show just says, like, hey, you have to pick an apprentice. Like, was it, like, something that the universe told him to do? Right? Like, there's no, like, because the previous movies got away with saying, it's a message from the universe. And honestly, if he had said, like, hey, I got a message from the universe that says, like, hey, you need to become the next spiritual leader and pick the next Dragon Warrior, honestly, that would have made it fine. I would have been like, yep, there you go. But no, it's just Shifu's like, oh, you need to be the next spiritual leader, right, now that Oogway's gone. And it's like, because they asked Shifu, like, why can't it be you? And Shifu's like, oh, I'm confined in my destiny, right? I've accepted the fact, even though it pisses him off, and they do make a joke about that. Right? But no, I do think that, right, him picking the next apprentice, and they have a recreation of the scene from the first movie, where he's presented with, like, 5 different warriors and told to pick one, and he just picks himself, and I was like, oh, that's funny. I know some people are mad that the Furious 5 weren't in this movie, and honestly, they didn't really need... For the story this movie is telling, they didn't need to be. Right? Early on in the movie, they give an explanation that say, like, hey, guess what? They're off doing other things. And while they don't have any speaking lines, spoiler alert, they do show up at the very end of the movie to start training with Poe's new apprentice. And I feel like that was a good enough... Because they basically recreate that scene from the first movie where Poe is, like, trying to learn and just keeps getting his ass kicked. They basically recreate that scene with Poe's new apprentice. So I was fine. Honestly, I didn't need the Furious Five to be in this one. Don't get me wrong. I like all the characters. I would have been happy to see them. But for the story this movie's telling, it didn't need to be. Because really, a big facet of this movie's story is change. Right? That change is, right? It's that classic thing. Change is scary. Change is something we are afraid of. Right? To get out of our comfort zone, to do something new. But it's something we have to do. Like, that's an integral part of the movie. And because it's, in some ways, it's a meta commentary about this, potential. I don't know if, I think they've said this isn't posed. If they make a sixth one, or a fifth one, I mean, which I hope they do. I know a lot of people will say, like, oh, this movie didn't need to exist. And technically it doesn't, especially because the first trilogy is still perfect. But honestly, the first trilogy is perfect. Just do new stuff. Again, I always go back to that thing of, I guess at some point the creators said that they had the idea for 10 of these movies. And you know what? If you have the idea for 10 of these movies, make all 10. Sure, why not? As long as they keep making money. Which I hope this movie doesn't fail at the box office. It might. Every movie seems to fail at the box office nowadays. And the theater I went to, the showing of this I went to, wasn't too full. Like, there were, like, maybe at most 20 other people there. Not that full. I hope this movie doesn't fail at the box office. I hope it does well, and I hope we get a fifth one. But, right, the whole movie is about change, right? Poe was no longer going to be the Dragon Warrior. And that's okay. I think of... So, Patrick H. Willems, in his final episode... I want to say it was his episode 9 Star Wars video. He explained that he thinks the future of Star Wars... Which, it's crazy how, like, 5 years later, none of this has happened yet. But he explained the idea that Star Wars is going to exist in eras. Right? That there was the era where Han Solo owned the Millennium Falcon. And then there was the era in which Rey owned the Millennium Falcon. And in the future, there's going to be the era in which Gloob Shitto owns the Millennium Falcon. Right? Star Wars exists, there's similar ideas, different eras. And that's kind of what I feel like they're setting up in this movie. That, right, there's going to be the era in which Poe was the Dragon Warrior. And then in the future, there's going to be the era with, the next generation of kids throughout the next trilogy where Awkwafina is the Dragon Warrior. And then there's going to be another era where Gloob Shitto is the Dragon Warrior, right? I feel like that's kind of where the movies are going if they do make another trilogy. And I'd be fine with that. Because I still think these movies are well written. I still think they're funny. Even if this is the weakest one, and kind of like the Hotel Transylvania movies, they're getting worse and worse with every one, I still think this is a very solid movie. There are... well, yes, Dune is technically better. I definitely would not take a kid to see Dune. God, they would get so bored so fucking fast. I mean, kids can barely sit through a 2-hour live-action Disney remake. They definitely can't sit through Dune. But there are also much worse movies to go see this weekend. Fucking Imaginary. Fucking pull up Ricky Stenicki on Amazon Prime. Like, fuck. Yeah, no, this is a great movie for kids. But there is, that adult theming there. Definitely. So one of the things this movie does is the, So remember when I talked about the Marvels a few months ago? And I was like, there's no reason for Kamala's parents and brother to be in this movie. But I'm glad they are because they're really likable, funny characters. And the Marvels, again, I stand by, was a decent movie. I get the same feeling from this one because Mr. Ping and Lee, Poe's dads, are both in this movie. And there is technically no reason these two characters need to be in this movie outside of the opening scenes. But I'm really glad they are. Like, basically their storyline is that they're just following Poe and, right, trying to, like, track him down. Kind of like what we've seen them do in previous movies, specifically the third one. And you know what? they're just really likable, and they're really funny. They got Bryan Cranston back, and fucking, is it James Hong? James Wong? The guy who voices Mr. Ping. He's fucking 95 years old. And he's still doing it. And, like, fuck. He does great in this movie. But yeah, they got Bryan Cranston back to voice Poe's dad. So, I did rewatch the third movie. I rewatched the third Kung Fu Panda before seeing the new one. And after I finished it, I was like, you know what, that's pretty good. One of my predictions I made for the new one, as I was like, you know, I hope Keo Kwan's in this new one. Because, you know, he's been on a roll. I mean, he won an Oscar. He's been on a roll recently. And these movies like to get all the famous Asian American actors. I was like, I hope Keo Kwan's in this one. And sure enough, Keo Kwan has plays a character in this movie. A very minor role, but it's cool that he's here. And then, of course, Awkwafina's here. But I'm surprised Simu Lee isn't in this movie. Save him. He should be in the next one. Get Simu Lee in the next one. I don't know which animal he should be. But yeah, get him in the next one. I think he'll do a great job. But no, I do really like that. I think it's a fun subplot. The main plot, the main plot is Viola Davis wants to steal Poe's, like, staff that he got at the end of the third one, because it allows her to open a door to the spirit world, where she can then capture all the previous great masters and steal their kung fu. Again, in some ways it reminds me of the plot of the third movie, because the third movie had Kai defeat all the great masters and steal their chi. So I kind of feel like they're very similar ideas. But, like I said, the Chameleon's motivation is a little weaker. What does sell the Chameleon for me, though? So, right before Poe and the Chameleon fight, right? She's absorbed all the great masters. She's absorbed Tai Lung, Kai's, and Lord Shin's, right? The previous three villains. She's absorbed all their chi. She has them all captured. And she basically gives Poe the classic delivery line of, hey, you know, we're not so different, you and I. And then Poe pulls a fucking Steven Universe and tells the villain, hey, if we're not so different, then maybe you can change and be a better person. He tries to talk down the villain. And I love that. Because, right, there's a running joke early on in the movie about how Poe can only solve his problems through punching and kicking. And, right, Master Shifu's like, no, right, there's more to punching and kicking. And there's a running joke that, like, Master Shifu is, like, the angel and devil on his shoulder, except for they're both the same angel. So, right, in this moment, he tries to talk down the Chameleon and be like, hey, if we're so similar, and I was able to change, then that means you are able to change as well. And the Chameleon responds with, well, I change all the time. And Poe says, you change on the outside. I'm talking about change on the inside. That is a fantastic moment that actually makes me like the villain more. That explanation actually is, I think, a great explanation. And then she attacks Poe, and then the little Master Shifu appears on his shoulder. And is like, you know what, Poe? I'm proud of you for trying to talk your way out of this, like a spiritual leader, before punching it. Now go punch it. That was great. I feel like, right, they did the whole Steven Universe thing. It didn't work, so now they get to beat up the villain. Again, I'm a big fan of Hope Punk, right? We live in the Hope Punk era because Punk is dead, and that's because it got co-opted by Republicans. So Hope Punk is dead. Hope Punk live on. And yeah. And of course, I'll be honest, there's one big twist in this movie that I saw coming from 1,000 miles away. Like, I knew it from the trailers. It plays off exactly... Like, do I want to say this is the most formulaic of the movies? Kind of. Like, the movies definitely follow a formula that all four movies now have the same formula, where, like, early on they establish the lesson of the movie that it takes the whole movie for Poe to learn. And right in the end, he learns it and it helps him save the day. Right? Like the first movie. Well, and it's interesting because like in the first movie, Shifu has to learn the lesson that he can't turn Po into Shifu. He has to turn Po into Po. So it's really cool then in the third movie where Po has to learn that exact... Like, Shifu spells out the message in the first, like, 15 minutes of the movie with that exact line, right? You have to learn that you can't turn you into me. You have to turn you into you. And then Po, right, learns that lesson through the rest of the movie, right? It's kind of the same thing here, right? Po's afraid of change. Shifu tells him early on that he's going to have to change. And then by the end of the movie, he's learned that lesson. And I think the chameleon, in concept, is a good point to that. Because, right, the chameleon is constantly changing. Right? That's kind of their whole deal, is that they're able to change. But they're changing on the outside, not the inside. And Po has to learn to change on the inside. I think what really would have fixed... Honestly, besides motivation, the other thing that really would have fixed the chameleon is just giving them more screen time. Right? Like, we spend not an insane amount of time with Tai Lung... But, you know, we get a good sense of what they are. Same thing with Kai. We get a good sense of their backstory and, like, their motivation and everything. Right? And we get to spend some moments with them. And then, of course, Shin is a very personal backstory. And we get to see it all play out. I feel like the chameleon gets less of that. Like, there's, right, outside of her introduction, right, she gets, like, one scene... Right, outside of the opening of the movie where she's pretending to be Tai Lung, there's one scene early-ish on, where there's like a meeting of all like the mob bosses in the city, and they're talking about like betraying the chameleon. And it's like, oh, the chameleon could be any one of us. She could be here right now. And then sure enough, one of them is the chameleon, and she like threatens them and beats them up. It's kind of a worse version of Shin's scene in Kung Fu Panda 2. And there are some moments where it's like, okay, we're just doing this scene from a previous movie. Right? That scene is just Shin's introduction from the second one. There's a chase through the city on carts, which is the exact same, which is like a worse version of the scene from 2. There's a crazy chase scene in this movie that's a real kind of flash in the pants, where like they're getting chased by like all these like ox. I think they're ox. They might be bison. No, well, like I said, I think they're ox. And it's just like an army of them. It's like, yeah, this chase scene was entirely unnecessary. Really, in the grand scheme. Because, like, if they were working for the villain, maybe. But they're not. Like, they're just, like, the cops in town who want to arrest Po and Aquafina. Because, yeah. But, yeah, I think it's a good movie. I think the jokes are funny. Some of the jokes are kind of cringe. I don't know. There are some that made me laugh. You know, the movie definitely knows the rule of 3 when it comes to comedy. And they execute it pretty well. For the most part. Yeah, there are some cringe jokes, but I feel like all the movies kind of have cringe jokes. You know, that's nothing new. Not everyone's going to be a hit, but there are a fair few amount of hits. And yeah, it's the weakest of the series, but I don't think it's bad by any means. And if this kicks off another trilogy, I'm all for it. I'll take another trilogy. And I do, there's a part of me that hopes I appreciate this more on a second viewing, because I will definitely watch this movie again. Right? I've seen the second one over a dozen times. I think I've seen the third one a fair few times as well. I bet the one I've seen the least is probably the first one. So I will definitely watch this movie again. But it is the weakest of them. But it's not bad. And, you know, maybe I'll appreciate it more. There are some, you know, there's plenty of good moments. There's a running joke about Po spitting his witticisms, and then like as he's trying to like make up all these these nuggets of wisdom, he ends up just saying a random line that's like more influential than anything else. Because like I kind of feel like that's how wisdom works, is in trying to say something wise, it's the random throwaway line that ends up being more impactful. There's a decent fight scene in a bar on a cliff, and you know, like the bar is like tilting back and forth, and I was like, you know, this is kind of fun. It's like a fun setup to a fight scene. I think the final fight scene is really good. I love how it ends. Right. I think it's got a good, it's got a fantastic ending. The animation is, and I haven't talked about this yet, and this goes for all of these movies. The animation is fantastic. Hans Zimmer, who I'm pretty sure did the score. I know did the score for the previous ones. I'm pretty sure it does the score for this one as well. It's fucking Hans Zimmer. Of course it's going to be a fantastic score. The score is good. The animation's good. The movies have always done like a good mix of like 2D and 3D animation. Beautiful backgrounds that are very like blink and you'll miss it. Like they'll make the most beautiful background and then only have it on screen for like a second. That's been a common thread in all of these movies. And guess what? That's how it works here as well. There's a character that's like, oh, it's this like pelican captain. And it's like, okay, right? They're kind of goofy. And then you find out, no, the actual character is the fish living inside the pelican's mouth. That's a very fun character for the universe. So yeah. I'm totally down. I know some people are like, yeah, it should have stayed at a trilogy. But the trilogy will always be there, and the trilogy will always be perfect. I'm fine with these when the second they start getting bad, and trust me, if this was bad, I would tell you. But the second these movies start getting bad, yeah, we can kill it. But they haven't gotten that far yet. The movies are still good. If they want to make a 5th one and a 6th one, please be my guest. I know there's a bunch of like TV show shit. I'll be honest, I thought about, there's like a Netflix show from a few years ago and I was like, maybe I should watch that Netflix show. I might. So, maybe keep an eye out for me talking about that. But I feel like they're good movies. They're good movies. I enjoy this one. Yeah, I recommend it. If you have kids, yeah, it's the best movie to go see right now. If you don't have kids, maybe go see Dune, but also if you got time, go see this as well. Especially if you grew up with the first one as a kid, I think this one has a pretty satisfying, conclusion to the story. Or a pretty satisfying, not conclusion, continuation. Yeah, I think I at least found it satisfying. And would you look at that? We went for 2 hours. I kind of figured. I'm probably going to do some big run off stream, if I'm being honest. I'm sure I got a podcast or something to listen to. I don't know. I've been trying to get caught up in Podquisition. I think I'm finally in this year. Because I was like 6 months behind. And now I think I'm only, 3? I'm getting close. Ooh, look at that. A whale net. That's cute. Oh my gosh. Ugh. Give me a second, I'm getting tissue. Catalog went up. Oh, hey, we got a... Oh shit, is that a new squid plush? Holy shit, is there a new squid plush? I love the tube sock. Wait, if there's a new squid plush, that's a new thing we can put in our locker. Oh, hey, we got a badge. So what's coming up in the future? I did not put out the Splatoon, the side order video on the main channel. I have an idea for it. That's definitely gonna take a little bit of time. So I definitely have to work on it a little bit more. I don't know. I might, I'm not an amazing editor, so I may not have the talent to do what I want to do with it. But I still think it's a funny idea, so I'm going to try. Which one do we get rid of? I'm actually fine with getting rid of the purple one up here. And then where's our squid plush? Here we go. We got a white squid one. Oops, I did not mean to save it. But yeah, I had an idea. Ooh, it looks kind of pink. I had an idea for the Splatoon 3 video that I think is funny. I just have to actually make it, but it's going to take me a bit of time to make it. So that's why that hasn't happened yet. Cushion. It needs... Ooh, we could do the NES. God, we have so many things. Towel. The one bronze trophy. Oh, wait, I have 2 bronze trophies. I was like... I swear I got a silver in something. Maybe it was a big run. Or the other, you know, the other mode. I'm thinking... I don't want to do one... Let's... Nah, that's not gonna fit. It was a fun idea. What can we put in there? Alright, then we gotta get a sticker in the back somewheres. So many stickers to choose from. And let's fix this up. Oh, wait, weren't they all supposed to be like squid stickers? No, come on. It's such a mess. This flower is such a pain in the ass. Actually, I think that's kind of funny. Alright, there we go. Updated locker with a white. Kind of looks pink in that lighting. Sure. Some fun lockers. I like the shrine in that. Oh, look at that. That's staying very on brand. I love the outside of that one. Oh, there's a TV? Oh, that's neat. I've never seen that before. Alright, I was just stalling there. But yeah, so Splatoon video... I'm sure there's other stuff I have to upload at some point. I don't know the next game we're playing. Like I said, I kind of don't have any ideas for the stream at the moment. Because we kind of, you know, we kind of did everything. And then usually it's like, oh, well, we'll play an old game in the lead up to a new game. But there are no new games coming out. And, like, the only other one I can think of coming out is Luigi's Mansion. But Luigi's Mansion 1 isn't on Switch, and I can't play it on anything else. And the 3DS version, well, they shut down the fucking Citroen emulator, so we can't do that. We can't do the 3DS version. I don't have a GameCube. Well, I have a Wii, but yeah, I don't have a way to stream the Wii, I guess, let's put it like that. I can only stream the Wii U. So yeah, I can't do Luigi's Mansion. We could do Luigi's Mansion 3, but maybe. You know, maybe. I don't know. There is a rumor going around that we're going to get news on Luigi's Mansion 2 and Paper Mario on Mario Day. Because, you know, Mario Day is on Sunday. So I could totally see us getting like, hey, here's a release date for Luigi's Mansion. Here's some more information about Paper Mario. Maybe a release date for that. Like, we're not going to get like a Mario Direct. But, you know, I could see them posting some stuff to Twitter. Sure. And if they do, well, we'll talk about it next week. But that's where we're going to end off today. So with that, I hope you all enjoyed. Stay tuned for more. Until next time, peace.